Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We've just come through one of the most tumultuous and genuinely shocking weekends in modern football history, and we're here to unpack exactly why.
We are. Our focus is the Emirates FA Cup third round for the 2025-26 season.
And what a third round it was. This is the 145th season of the competition, but everything felt different.
It was. The sources we've got confirm this wasn't just random drama. I'd argue it was, in a way, manufactured.
That's the key, isn't it? It was manufactured by a complete structural upheaval. We're talking new rules negotiated between the FA and the Premier League that they redefined the entire competition.
Completely.
So our mission today is to dig into how these massive rule changes, no VAR, no replays, created the perfect storm for absolute chaos.
And if you need a single image of that chaos, you just have to look at Macclesfield FC.
Oh, absolutely. A non-league sixth-tier side knocking out the defending champions Crystal Palace.
It's the ultimate giant killing.
We are definitely going to dive deep into the Macclesfield miracle, but I think first we have to set the stage. We need to talk about these new rules of engagement.
Right. It's what you call the era of sudden death, and that's the perfect term for it.
So what were the big changes?
Okay, so the headline item from this new 6-year agreement between the FA and the Premier League was the complete abolition of replays.
From the proper rounds onward, right?
Correct. So any draws after 90 minutes, it's straight to extra time and then penalties, all decided on the day.
And the immediate criticism was that this just helps the big clubs, clears their calendars.
That's the perception, yeah.
Yeah.
The FA's official line was about player welfare and calendar congestion, because of the expanded UEFA competitions.
The Champions League, Europa League, they need those midweek slots back.
Exactly. But for the lower league clubs, losing that replay, it's a massive blow.
It's not just another game, is it? We're talking about the financial side of things.
It's a genuine financial lifeline. Securing a replay, especially away at a huge Premier League ground like Old Trafford or Anfield, that's not just a nice bonus.
How much are we really talking about?
For a League One club, for example, that 1 second fixture could be worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. It can cover the entire annual wage bill.
Wow.
Yeah, it pays for stadium maintenance. It keeps the youth academy running. So when critics said English football was losing its soul,
they were really talking about losing this vital mechanism for redistributing wealth.
Precisely. It consolidates power even further at the very top.
And it changes the psychology completely. Now, if you're a lower league team, you know this is it. It's win or go home right now.
The dream dies on the day. Yeah.
Okay, so beyond the format, there was also the massive controversy over technology, or I should say, the lack of it.
Indeed. The FA basically put a moratorium on VAR, the video assistant referee, and also on SAO, the semi-automated offside technology.
And that was specifically for the third and fourth rounds.
Yep.
So why? It seems like a step backward. How does removing technology improve what the FA called sporting integrity?
Well, the argument was that it avoids creating a two-tier refereeing system.
Meaning?
Only Premier League grounds, and maybe a few in the Championship, have the full setup for VAR and SAO. If you only used it in those stadiums, you'd have half the games under intense technological scrutiny and the other half just based on human judgment.
Right. So to make it a level playing field for everyone in the round, that they just switched it all off.
They rolled it back, yeah. The one exception was goal line technology, which stayed on where available because it's a much simpler, self-contained system.
But the impact of having no VAR, I mean, you could see it in the players almost immediately.
Well, the psychological shift was instant. The prime example was that penalty against Harry Maguire for Manchester United.
Right, in the win over Arsenal. What happened there?
The ball hit his hand in the box.
Yeah.
And he admitted afterwards his first instinct was to just relax, assuming VAR would check it and probably overturn it.
Which it might have done.
Maybe. But then he remembered it wasn't where. He said his head went a little bit. It just reintroduces pure, unreviewable human error as a decisive factor.
Every decision feels final again, irreversible.
And if those rules set the stage for pressure and chaos, they also set the stage for actual magic.
Which brings us to Macclesfield, the Macclesfield miracle. This is the story of the round.
Without a doubt. We're talking about Macclesfield FC, a club from the National League North. That's the 6th tier of English football.
Beating the reigning FA Cup champions, Crystal Palace.
The gap is, it's a 117-place gap in the league pyramid. It's being called the greatest upset in the tournament's 155-year history.
And I saw it's the first time in over a century a sixth-tier side has beaten a top-flight team.
108 years. The last time it happened was before the First World War.
That is just... It's hard to even process that.
It shows you the financial chasm that's opened up. And for them to do it now, in this new sudden death format, makes it even more incredible.
And the club's story itself is so compelling. They're a Phoenix club, right?
Yeah, formed just 5 years ago. In 2020, after Macclesfield town was liquidated, they literally rebuilt from nothing. And their manager is John Rooney.
Wayne Rooney's younger brother.
The very same. And they were just perfectly organized. They exploited Palace's complacency. Their captain, Paul Dawson, scored a header just before halftime.
And then 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀 made it 2-0 on the hour mark.
A really clever finish.
Yeah.
So you're 2-0 up against the holders at home. The atmosphere at Moss Rose must have been just unreal.
I can't even imagine.
Palace did get one back, a spectacular free kick from 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃 in the 90th minute.
Of course they did. Which led to... How long in stoppage time?
6 minutes. 6 absolutely terrifying minutes of stoppage time, knowing any little touch in the box could be the end of the dream. But they held on. 2-1.
And the emotional context here just takes it to another level.
It really does. The whole performance was dedicated to their 21-year-old forward, Ethan McLeod, who tragically died in a car crash just a few weeks earlier.
And his parents were there at the match.
They were. And John Rooney, the manager, said afterwards that the whole team felt that McLeod was looking down on us today. That kind of emotional fuel. You can't quantify that.
That's not tactics. That's just pure belief and fortitude.
It can absolutely override a technical deficit. It's what the FA Cup is built on.
And then you have the complete contrast in the reaction from the Crystal Palace manager, Oliver Glasner.
Furious is the word. He made 6 changes to his lineup, and he did not hold back.
What did he say?
He basically said, I have no words for this performance. And he pointed the finger directly at the players he brought in, saying, you don't need tactics and a manager for these games, implying they didn't even do the basics.
So it highlights that classic managerial dilemma. Rotate too much, you risk humiliation. Don't rotate enough, you risk fatigue for the league.
And that dilemma really defines the 2 extremes we saw this weekend. You had the Macclesfield fairy tale, and then you had the teams who got it right.
Which brings us to Manchester City.
Yes. If Macclesfield was chaos and defiance, City was just ruthless, clinical precision. A 10-1 demolition of Exeter City.
10-1. I mean, that's scoreline. It just shouldn't happen in modern football.
It matched their biggest ever winning margin in the Cup. And it just showcases their unbelievable squad depth. Their new £87 million signing, Antoine Semenyo, scored and got an assist on his debut.
First player to do that since Aguero, I read.
That's right. And a 17-year-old from the academy, 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, also scored on his debut. It's a luxury very few clubs have.
But even in that demolition, there was this one little moment of defiance.
You're talking about the Exeter goal.
Yeah. Tell us about George Birch.
He's a 19-year-old Exeter player. He scores a consolation goal when they're already 9-0 down. But the amazing thing is, he and his teammates don't celebrate. They just grab the ball and race back to the center circle to restart the game.
Even at 9-0 down.
It's that spirit of the Cup, that refusal to surrender, even when you're being mathematically annihilated.
That one moment almost says more than any of City's 10 goals.
Now, what about the all-Premier League ties? How did this sudden death rule change things there?
It just ramped up the pressure immediately. We saw that with Tottenham's 1-2 loss to Aston Villa.
That put their manager, Thomas Frank, under a lot of pressure, didn't it?
Huge pressure. Villa scored twice in the first half. The loss ended with an ugly post-match melee. Fans were not happy, and the criticism was that Frank didn't rotate enough.
So the opposite of Glasner at Palace.
Exactly. He was accused of burning out his key players in a cup game when the league should be the priority. The tightrope.
And then you had the pure drama of a penalty shootout.
The Newcastle versus Bournemouth game was an instant classic. It finished 3-3 after extra time, just back and forth. Harvey Barnes scored late for Newcastle, then Marcus Tavernier equalized for Bournemouth right at the death.
Forcing penalties. The pressure must be immense knowing there's no second chance.
Monumental. Newcastle ended up winning at 7-6, just a marathon. And you saw that same pressure in another huge upset. Nottingham Forest getting knocked out by Wrexham.
A championship side. Another 3-3 draw, another penalty shootout, and Wrexham win at 4-3.
And the Forest manager, Sean Dyche, he was not happy.
He was scathing. He made 8 changes and then publicly slammed the fringe players he brought in. He called their performance completely unacceptable and told them to look in the mirror.
So it's a recurring theme. The FA Cup is revealing which managers really trust their entire squad.
And which ones don't, with brutal consequences.
We also have to touch on Manchester United, who are still in this sort of unstable period after Ruben Amorim's dismissal.
Right. They had a tricky tie against Brighton, and their interim coach, Darren Fletcher, made a really interesting tactical decision.
Which was what?
He just tore up the old complex playbook and went back to a very traditional, very predictable 4-2-3-1 formation.
A safe choice.
A very safe choice. In a single elimination game against a good team like Brighton with no replays, he chose stability over risk. It's a direct response to this new pressure cooker environment.
Even with players like Bruno Fernandes, Mount, and Maguire coming back.
Exactly. Stability was the priority.
So let's talk money. We know what the clubs lost by not having replays, but what did the winners actually get?
The prize money for winning in the third round was £121,500.
Which, for a club like Macclesfield, is just monumental.
Oh, it's a huge windfall. That figure probably exceeds their total gate receipts for the entire year. It secures their budget, it lets them invest, it just relieves all that financial pressure.
And they're the lowest ranked team left in Tier 6.
Yep, they'll be glued to that fourth round draw on Monday. It's at Anfield, with Steven Gerrard and Joe Cole making the draw. Imagine the tension.
So when we pull this all together, it feels like the FA Cup has changed, but maybe not for the worse.
I think that's fair. The fear was that removing replays and VAR would dilute the magic, but it seems to have had the opposite effect.
By creating these immediate, high-stakes situations.
Exactly. It just amplified the tension. It created this raw, unforgiving, sudden death atmosphere, which led directly to the upsets, the shootouts, and all the drama we saw.
So the big takeaway is that the FA Cup is still the FA Cup. It can still produce these incredible extremes, the fairy tale of Macclesfield and the ruthless efficiency of Manchester City side by side.
Absolutely. And I think that leaves a really interesting question for you, the listener, to think about. We saw managers punished for rotating too much and others punished for rotating too little. So given the strain of this new single elimination format, will Premier League managers feel more pressure to play their strongest teams from now on? Or will the need to rotate, which led to the downfall of Palace and Forest, actually make these kinds of giant killings even more common in the future? The cost of getting it wrong is now immediate, but the cost of fatigue in the league might be even higher. Which pressure is going to win out? I guess only time will tell.